Hey there guys, so at this point I've shown rank 1 clears on the Shogun, not using units like Ibarra. We've done one without Darkfina, we've done one even without Melissa. Now we're going to go for the other very common request, is do a rank 1 Shogun clear without Lilith. So let's go and do it. Now, for this demonstration clear, unfortunately my team is only EX15. This means I am unable to turn on all the modifiers, but I'm still going to show you the rank 1 strategy if you, for example, have an EX2 Ibarra or an EX3 Melissa, and you can just get an EX16 team. But for demonstrations purposes, we have to leave off a modifier. So we're going to just ignore the party elemental resistance down modifier. Now, this is a completely irrelevant modifier. The only elemental damage is physical, which we are going to negate entirely. So this modifier does not change the strategy at all, but I am unable to show you the strategy and turn that on because I'm only EX15. This is for those of you that can build this team at EX16. This will get you a rank 1 clear. So let's get in here and do the clear. I'll explain it as we go. Now once again, it's a little tricky because my Ibarra is only EX1, and we really got to get her LB gauge ready by turn 2, which is tricky. Also, not using Lilith makes turn 1 very, very hard. But, you know, if you got a good Abigail, you can still do it, no problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with Abigail doing cover, contingency plan, and Shelga. We're going to have Melissa do shared immunity, chronic flow, and parasol shield. So the thing is, this time we don't have Lilith giving us like a 25,000 point heal, so our Abigail only has 5,000 HP. She has a barrier too, so it's really like 10,000 HP, but it's gonna really hurt. Okay, so Olive is now going to Fiery, Brilliant, Sky, Mammals, and Giant just for the morale game. Ibarra in the base form is going to use both the prayers and Anun for the dark stuff. Now we're going to use A2 to triple offensive heal for the morale. Now, after Abigail has to go first. Abigail did a 2-stack Mirage for the party. Now 2B is going to double True Charge Human and do a Void. That's going to be a 4-stack Mirage for the party, which is going to allow us to negate the turn 3 entirely. Okay, so hopefully Abigail doesn't die here. Yeah, we were fine. We only took 6,000 damage out of the 10,000 effective HP we had, so it was okay with all the mitigations we had on turn 1. But just be aware that turn 1 with this strategy can be a little tricky. Also, we got to fill Ibarra's LB gauge on this turn because my Ibarra is only EX1, which is a little bit irritating. So we're going to reload A2. And then we're going to do the shifted LB of 2B as well as triple offensive on A2. Let's see if we get any crystal drops. Okay, that was very lucky. We got her LB from crystal drops. If we didn't, we could have used Barforagia. Remember, Barforagia fills 10 crystals per cast. So because we don't need to, we're going to just do cover and anti-physical and magical. Those are just for morale fill. If you need to use Barforagia, do that instead of cover, and that'll fill more LB gauge, but casting cover again will be more morale gain. So there we go, base form LB of Ibarra. Now Melissa is going to do the Abyssal Blessing Magnus. We are going to do Human Killer on 2B, and we're going to do Minutes to Might. I probably should have used Melissa first to imbue the party for more morale gain, but it's okay. Okay, so turn 2 is not going to be that bad. We've got more healing at this point. We've also got a lot of mitigations. It still really hurts. It still really hurts, but we're okay. So the turn 3 stuff, in order to not have our party get hit with the Mirage, we don't have Lilith to cover it anymore, but Abigail's got our back. So Abigail is going to Omni cover this turn. You still can't cover the single target attacks. They ignore cover. But she's going to, with evasion, evade cover all the AoE attacks, and the single target physicals are going to hit the highest attack power, which is obviously one of the Nier units, and we've got a 4-stack Mirage, so that's not going to hurt us. So we're going to Omni Cover, and then Anti-Magical and Physical, and that is going to give us just more morale gain. Okay, we're going to get ready for next turn. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Let's see, 2B is going to look at her LB gauge. Her LB gauge is, it's fine. We're going to go ahead and type, yeah, this is fine. We're going to type as a Spirit, that gives 20. Then we're going to Blade of Vengeance Ibarra. That's going to, we're going to do Bard Darkja to fill more LB gauge on 2B. Then we're going to Wish of, in this order, Wish of Vengeance and Tsukayukio, or whatever. That's going to be her Magnus to refill her. So now 2B is good to go. She's got a little bit of autofill that helps as well. Melissa is going to go ahead and just fill the morale gauge. So we're going to just triple kill her, because those fill good morale. So Human Killer on Ibarra to get ready for next turn, and then 2 more killers just for the morale gain. Now, if you're not quite hitting the damage cap on turn 4, you can have A2 do double offensive and Yorha this turn. Or you could do her SLB. Yorha is the bigger modifier buff though. But because we're going to probably overcap the damage cap, we're going to not bother. We're just going to offensive 3 times with A2. Okay, so here it, and we should have a full morale gauge at this point. Perfect. So now, okay, here we Omni cover that, and then 3 single target physicals that are getting miraged because of 2B. Now it is time to burst. Before we do that though, I should also mention, we're doing an EX2 rotation on Abigail. So if your Abigail is only EX2, this rotation is fine. And notice we did not use her SLB last turn. I'm intentionally doing this rotation to show you an EX2 viable Abigail. So we're going to only use her SLB every 4th turn instead of every 3rd turn. So turn 4, before we burst, we're going to use Abigail's SLB for the breaks, the mitigations, all that good stuff. Now we're going to go ahead and use the attack and magic buff from the morale bar. Now if you're doing too much damage, skip that attack and magic buff. But we're going to use it. So we're going to go ahead and now SLB Olive. We're going to shift and shifted LB our Ibarra. We're going to Hateful Blade our A2 and base form LB our 2B. So let's go ahead and deal some damage, and fingers crossed that we don't do too much damage. So let's see. This is the most annoying part of this fight, is not doing too much damage here. Oh my god, I'm pretty sure we did too much damage. Let me go ahead and double check. So let's go ahead and triple Bar Darkja. Oh my god, did we do it again? Did we really do it again? Please, don't beat the threshold. Maybe that's like right on the edge. 2.9. And he's healing. I did too much damage. Son of a freaking... Okay, so we got to go back in and not do too much damage on... This is the most irritating ass fight. We got to not do too much damage on turn 4. Let me run the fight again. I'll see you on turn 4 for another, hopefully lower variance roll. Be back in a second. Okay, guys. I've tried this twice more. We keep dealing way too much damage. So now I have cut out some of the buffing on the earlier turn. So hopefully that fixes our too much damage problem. So let's see if we can do, good damage without going over the damage we want to do on this turn. All right, so hopefully I didn't cut out too many of the buffs. But let's see. Let's see if we can do 2.5 without going to 2.9. Okay, that's way better. That's way better. So after we do our burst on turn 4 without going over, we are going to triple Bar Darkja with our Melissa. That is going to refill 2B's LB gauge, which we're going to need in a moment. Okay, so we did 2.6. Thankfully, cutting out some of the killers on the earlier turn has intentionally lowered our damage to the point where we're okay. It's so hilarious. Okay, as the first action on turn 5, we are now going to do All-Consuming Darkness. We are going to Human Killer on 2B, and we are going to Bar Darkja. And that should fill LB gauge. If not, we can just do Cover and double Bar Faraja on this turn, and that'll guarantee fill your LB gauge again. So we're going to shift 2B and do her shifted LB this turn. We're going to use Olive to break, Gunner, Giant, and Cap. We're going to use Ibarra to triple bolting in the shift form, and we're just going to triple finisher with our A2. Okay, we can go ahead and turn on the attack and magic mod, but we're very close to the threshold, so we're gonna be fine at this point. Okay, let's go ahead and deal certain damage and push that threshold. There we go. Nicely done. Okay, here's the threshold. Thankfully, Melissa is back on the party after we kicked her off last clear. Now the boss only heals to 74%, which makes phase 2 dramatically easier compared to not using Melissa like we did earlier. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do, let me look at my turn chart real quick. We're going to use Abigail to cover and then double break the boss. That's important. We're going to use Melissa to curse control. We're going to human killer on 2B, again to refresh it. And then we're going to shared immunity, because we got to refresh that buff as well. Let's see. We're going to use Ibarra to go to the base form. And we're going to Prayer, and Anoon. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and just use the SOB of 2B. Just get it out of here. We hate 2B. Don't even care her SOB, because it's really terrible frames. Just let her do it all by herself. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and double break Giant Melon, Cap, and Magnus. We're bursting next turn, obviously. And then to the base form with 2B, where we're going to triple R40, which is going to, let's go ahead and do this. It's going to do a little bit of damage, but also fill her LB gauge again. Remember, we did her modifier buff last turn. Okay, so turn 6, by memory, is a magic turn. Yeah, magic turn. No big deal. Yeah, we've got the SLB mitigations of Abigail. And again, the EX2 Abigail is totally fine with this rotation. Normally, we would SLB Abigail if you're EX3, but we're not going to SLB her intentionally this turn. So before we do anything, what are we doing? We are using Melissa on this turn. We're going to refresh the Magnus Amplify. We're going to Minutes to Might for the LB damage buff. And we're going to Human Killer on Ibarra this turn. Okay. Let me look at my turn chart. 2B is going to base form LB. We are going to base form LB Ibarra. We're going to SLB Olive. And we're going to do, in this order, Yorha and double finisher for A2 to get her ready for next turn. So we're not going to use Abigail just yet. Oh, let's go ahead and do our attack and magic buff. And let me just double check that we're all accurate. We are. Let's go ahead and chain these up. Wait on Abigail. Okay. Now Abigail can do, on this turn, contingency after you're bursting, and then double Faraja to refill LB gauge. Okay, so this turn we are absorbing. So the absorbing means the damage is basically irrelevant. Yeah, so we absorb all the damage, 4 million damage, do not care. Thank you, Melissa, for coming back to the party. Okay, so turn 8. Let me look at my turn chart. Ibarra needs to... Oh yeah, we got to refill. So first we're going to use... Now we're going to use the SLB of Abigail. Again, if you're EX2, this rotation is totally valid for you. Melissa is going to do Human Killer on 2B. Then we're going to do a double Bar Darkja. And that should fill the LB gauge of everyone. Perfect. So 2B can do the base form LB. Nope, I'm lying to you. She's doing the shift form LB. Olive is going to normal attack. Olive's normal attack is a triple bolting strike. That's going to match up with 2B's LB. We're going to do the base form LB again of Ibarra because we want to do a Hateful Blade this turn with A2. So let's go ahead and do this. You know, I'm noticing I should have done this differently. I should have, but this is fine. This is fine. We're still going to do enough damage to kill the boss. I'm actually noticing a way I could have squeezed out more damage from this clear by changing the rotation. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We still have two turns to go. We're going to burst on both those turns. We are fine. We are going to do more damage than necessary. Oh well. So turn 9. we are going to, yeah, now we have the big, oh well, too late at this point. So we're going to go ahead and triple finisher with A2. We're going to use Ibarra to shift, and we're going to double Demonic Cleave and then Demonic Retribution to focus. Olive is going to double break. Melon, Cap, and Magnus. Let's see, 2B on this turn. We are going to use Abigail to, hold on, not yet. We're going to use Melissa to hastened recovery. We are going to seconds of support on 2B to refill her and give her a modifier buff, and then human killer on Ibarra. And we're going to wait on Abigail. That's going to refill 2B's LB so she can go to the base form and do her limit. And let's see, am I doing all this properly? We attack and magic buff here. And yeah, so we go ahead and chain this up. Then chain this. And a little bit of nice damage here. Oh my god. We killed it on turn 9. We killed it on turn 9. So me not being optimal on turn 8 didn't even matter. We killed it too quickly. Wow, and our big burst was coming next turn too. Yeah, next turn we were going to SLB with Olive. We were going to shift it LB with Ibarra. We were going to LB again with 2B. We were going to do a whole lot of damage next turn. But we didn't need to. Now, I did have one modifier turned off. But again, that modifier was completely irrelevant to our damage done. So here is the clear. So the nice thing about the Nier units, even though they are heavily nerfed in damage, they are machines, meaning they don't have any penalty in phase 2. So by Ibarra basically carrying the damage cap in phase 1, where the Nier units are kind of nerfed a little bit, we can then use them to help us really help out in phase 2, which is great. So there's a no Lilith rank 1 strategy. You know, I couldn't turn on a modifier for demonstration purposes. I just hope people can, you know, realize that it's still a valid rank 1 strategy. And in 10 days, when my Ibarra gets to EX2, I can do the exact same thing even easier. Not to mention next week, we'll have leader skills and Ibarra will deal a lot more damage, etc., etc., etc. But here is the team's gear, etc. So Melissa is dual wielding a morale card, pretty typical at this point, Treasured Ring. And I gave her a passive provoke. If you can't gear her and all this passive, I know a lot of this is limited. Give her like a Moogle Charm or make her not dual wield. Give her things like the shield. What's this called? Lawrence's shield, the commando shield, stuff like that. And you actually, yeah, you do want her passive provoking because we're not using Lilith. So if someone else wants to passive provoke, do not make your tank provoke because you'll take extra damage from execute. Make your support be the provoker. So we're getting provoke from 30% from the uniform, 30% from Merrymaker, 20% from So Cute as Criminal, and 10% apiece from the Jewel of Strength. And again, we could swap out the Treasured Ring for the Moogle Charm for 50% provoke if you don't have all this limited stuff, and then that would be slightly less morale. And you could also give her the Commando Shield for provoke as well, and just not dual wield the morale card. Anyway, Melissa does Melissa things. Abigail is full evading because we are omni covering that attack on turn 3. Now you could use the imbue on Melissa and absorb it, but it's more morale to have Melissa use other things that turn, and I wanted to do it this way. So, but if you can't gear your tank in full evasion, then you can just use the imbue, and then you don't need mirage and all that on turn 3. And on turn 7, we do the imbue anyway and absorb the damage. So here's the build. A lot of bulk. You know, turn 1 hurts really bad if you don't have Lilith on the party, and we don't. And then I gave her Melissa's card for more morale gain. So there you go. 2B in both forms are geared. Actually, they're not geared identical. Base form is absolute damage. All damage versus demons and machines. Demons and humans. Max demon and human, max LB damage. In the shift form of 2B, she is using 12 autofill and Tyvis' Spirit. So 12 autofill, still maxed LB damage, maxed human and demon, but slightly worse gear. But we are using Tyvis' Spirit and 12 autofill. That way we can squeeze out more LBs per turn with 2B. Olive, no real changes. LB damage versus demons and humans. There's the build. A little bit of chain speed. You know how it is at this point. Maxed, maxed, maxed. There we go. Ibarra in both forms, I believe, are geared identical. She is. So we're using a Demon Killer card. You know, a little bit of chain speed, some LB damage. Mine's only EX1. At EX2 and better, she gears easier, but she is still maxed on everything. And then A2 is just, you know, damage versus machine. I keep saying machines, not machines, versus humans and demons. There it is. There's the build, and there we go. So even though they are nerfed by the attack power mod, they can ignore the mitigation in Phase 2, which is a really big help, and it makes Phase 2 a lot more manageable. You know, we killed it on turn 9. We had a whole extra turn, and literally we were setting up for the big burst on turn 10, which we never even used. So, yeah, we were over, and we were dealing too much damage on turn 4 as well. So, if you have the new Ibarra, this clash is very easy. I mean, it's not easy, but it's a lot easier than if you don't have her. Let me say it that way. Anyway, there's the no Lilith clear. Hope it helps. See you in a bit.